Hey guys. All right, I want to discuss something really quick. Meal timing, meal frequency. How many meals do I have a day? Do I have one meal a day? Do I have 8 meals a day? It doesn't matter. I've seen this a lot recently, and I think it comes out of if it's your macros crowd of, it doesn't matter about timing at all. Only eat one meal a day and you're fine. If you have 10 meals a day, you're fine. Just hit your calories. And to a sense, that's somewhat correct, but on performance and being optimal, it's not. So first, you have to look at hierarchy of importance, and this is touched on in Renaissance Diet book, and I know Eric Helms has touched about the hierarchy of importance, which is if you don't know how many calories you're taking in, or you don't know what your macronutrient breakdown is, if it's optimal for your training volume, for your training sessions, etc., you're missing a big picture because calories and macronutrients are a lot more important than how many meals you have a day. So you have to make sure that that is in check first before you're worrying about if you should have a post-workout protein shake after your last set of bicep curls. So make sure you understand that first. Okay, so after you understand calories and macros, the next thing that's important is meal frequency and meal timing. How many meals you should have a day? Before I touch on that, what I want to say is what's important is adherence as well. So if you cannot adhere to whatever diet you are doing, that is extremely important because being consistent is how you get results. So if somebody tells you to eat every hour, but you can't, then that's a bad diet for you. If somebody tells you to do intermittent fasting because it'll get you better results, but it doesn't work for your schedule for whatever reason, then that's a bad protocol for you. So whatever it is, you have to be able to stick to it to get results. So calories, macros, adherence to a program, those are very important. So now finally, meal timing, meal frequency. What becomes important, first I'll touch on is protein. Okay? My recommendation is usually eating every 3 to 4 hours and having around, I think it's around 20 to 40 grams, 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. Depending on your size, depending on the amino acid breakdown of the food you're eating. But if I recall, I think it was eating every 3 hours or 4 hours or so and having that much protein stimulates muscle protein synthesis for a period of time, for that amount of time, and then after about 3 hours it starts to drop down, 4 hours it starts to go to baseline. And that's the time where you want to eat again. So and then you can bump up muscle protein synthesis again, and then you can repeat the process and do that. And I don't know what the research says right now, and I'd love to have a discussion about this if anybody would like to chime in on this. Refractory period of protein and somebody who eats protein throughout the day, never takes a break. I know that is not optimal as well because you need time for muscle protein synthesis to come down to baseline for it to be stimulated again, if I recall. Please correct me on this if anybody would like to understand that. So that's also why having one meal a day isn't very good. Because if you're trying to recover the best of your ability, you're not going to be optimizing. I hate using that word, but it's the only word I'm saying right now. Optimizing muscle protein synthesis for recovery. So every 3 to 4 hours, have 30 to 40-ish grams of protein per meal. Depending on your size, I think it's 25, somewhere right around that area. 30-ish grams of protein per meal is what you would need. And as far as like carbohydrates and stuff, that's very important too to have before you're working out as well. Okay, having carbohydrates before your training to help have higher intensities and be able to perform well in the gym, which in turn helps lead to becoming stronger, gaining muscle. Because even though the carbohydrates aren't pushing, for recovery, they help energize your workouts so you can build bigger muscles. So having carbs before your workout is important, especially if you're doing like higher volume type stuff. You know, if you're a power lifter, it may not be as important, but if you're like an endurance runner, a bodybuilder with high volumes and stuff like that, it's important. Okay, last thing I'll touch on here is post-workout nutrition. You know, should I have a protein shake, carbs after I'm working out? Is important for me. Now, that is a context-to-context question of who's asking it. And I'll give you 2 examples. Say one guy comes to me and goes, "Hey, Sam, should I have protein post-workout? How important is it? Very important to me. Am I going to lose all my gains if I don't have it?" And I ask him, "Well, did you eat before you worked out? Did you have anything at all?" And he goes, "Yeah, I had 2 scoops of whey and 2 bananas." I'd be like, okay, it's important to get in a meal soon, depending how long your training is, maybe the next 2 hours or so. Yeah, then get it in. But if another guy comes to me and goes, "Hey Sam, how important is post-workout nutrition?" I go, "Hey, did you have anything to eat before your training?" They said no. It's very important for that guy to get something in as soon as possible, because he hasn't had anything to eat all day. So you can't take that question and give a blanket statement. It goes to the rule of eating every 3 to 4 hours. So if you haven't had anything to eat all day, then for that person asking that question who has been fasted is very important. But for that same person who's only been training an hour and he had 2 scoops of whey protein and 2 bananas before his training, it's not as important. So hopefully that makes sense. So meal frequency, meal timing is important, but it's not going to make or break how you look, especially if you don't understand your calories or macros. Worrying about if you eat every 3 to 4 hours, but you don't even know how many calories you're taking in, and you wonder why you're not losing weight even though you're eating every 3 hours, and that's a big problem. So it's also very important for performance in the gym, with carbohydrates, and for recovery to maximize muscle protein synthesis, which in return is recovery, so you are strong and be able to perform the best you can in the gym for your next training session. So if you guys have any questions, lastly, I would love to touch on if anybody would like to discuss refractory period. I don't know if there's any new research on that. Eating every 3-4 hours. I know Stu Phillips, Kevin Tipton have touched on this as well. And if anybody would like to discuss, please leave a comment below. All right, guys, later.